The front door unlocked with a soft click, and Sarah walked in like she had just come back from a quick trip to the grocery store. 2 full weeks at the Grand Hyatt downtown with her so-called work husband, Marcus. And she didn't even have the decency to look guilty. She set her leather overnight bag on the hardwood floor, kicked off her heels, and hummed a lazy tune. I sat motionless in the dim living room, watching her every move from the dark corner. 8 years of marriage was collapsing, but I wasn't going to scream. When Sarah first mentioned Marcus 3 years ago, I treated him like an innocent co-worker. But over time, he became the shadow living inside our home. Every late-night email, every suppressed giggle over text messages, and every weekend conference was wrapped around his name. 2 weeks ago, she packed her bags for what she called a mandatory off-site corporate strategy summit. I already knew the truth before she left the driveway. Instead of confronting her then, I spent those 14 long days listening, planning, and waiting patiently for tonight. I was done being the gullible husband. She poured herself a generous glass of Pinot Noir from the kitchen counter and finally turned toward the dim living room. Seeing me sitting silent in the dark shadow, she let out a theatrical little gasp and clutched her chest. She recovered her composure instantly, sliding into that polished, charismatic smile she always used when she was managing client expectations or covering up her tracks. "Jesus, Mark, why are you sitting in the dark like a ghost?" she asked softly, taking a slow sip. "You scared me to death. Did you miss me while I was away working so hard?" I didn't answer right away. I just stared at her, feeling the cold distance that had grown between us over the years. She walked closer, setting her wine glass on the coffee table and reaching out to touch my shoulder. Her hand felt completely strange to me now. "You look tired, babe," she murmured, her voice dripping with artificial concern. "It was an exhausting 2 weeks of non-stop meetings, but I'm finally back home with you." I leaned back slightly, avoiding her touch, and placed my smartphone directly in the center of the wooden table between us. "What is this?" she asked, her dark eyes narrowing as she glanced down at the black glass screen. Her fake warmth flickered for a fraction of a second, revealing a tiny flash of genuine irritation. I slowly reached out and tapped the phone, waking up the glowing digital display. A single voice memo application was open, showing an audio track paused at exactly 30 seconds. "Before you tell me all about your exhausting corporate business trip," I said, my voice quiet, steady, and completely devoid of emotion, "I think you really need to listen to something I received yesterday afternoon." Sarah laughed, a tight, artificial sound that didn't reach her eyes. She picked up her wine glass again and took another slow sip, trying to maintain her cool posture. "Mark, if this is another one of your paranoid accusations about Marcus, I'm really not in the mood for it tonight. We worked 20-hour days getting the new account ready. I am dead tired." She turned her back toward me, walking toward the kitchen sink. She thought she was still in total control of the narrative, like she had been for 8 full years of our marriage. "Just 30 seconds, Sarah," I said gently. I hit the play button on the screen. The speaker cracked open with ambient background noise, followed by the distant sound of ice clinking against glass. Then came Marcus's distinct, arrogant voice, laughing softly. "He still has no idea you cleared out the joint investment account?" Marcus asked in the recording. Sarah's own voice answered right back, crisp and unmistakable. "Mark trusts me blindly," she chimed in on the audio. "He thinks I'm restructuring our family portfolio. By next Friday, the entire house and assets will be in my name." The air in the living room turned instantly to ice. Sarah froze mid-step near the kitchen counter, her hand locking around the stem of her glass so hard her knuckles turned stark white. The audio kept playing into the heavy silence. "What about the divorce papers?" Marcus asked smoothly. Sarah's recorded laugh sounded colder than I had ever heard in real life. "I'll serve him right after the offshore transfer settles. He'll sign whatever I put in front of him because he still blindly loves me." The 30-second clip ended with a sharp, final digital beep. Those 30 seconds felt like an eternity, but when it ended, the entire house fell into an absolute, suffocating silence. Sarah didn't turn around immediately. When she finally faced me, every trace of her polished, manipulative charm was completely gone. Her face was deathly pale, stripped of all color, and her lips parted slightly as if she was desperately searching for a lie big enough to save her. Where did you get that?" she whispered, her voice trembling violently. The confident corporate executive who had walked through my front door 2 minutes ago had vanished into thin air. Marcus left his tablet synced to the company cloud storage, I explained casually, standing up from my armchair for the first time. He forgot that as the chief technology consultant, I built the entire network infrastructure for your firm 3 years ago. Every file, every backup, every audio note created on company devices mirrors straight to my server. I walked over to the kitchen counter, picking up my car keys and a small manila folder I had set aside earlier. You thought you were playing a long chess game against an idiot, Sarah. You didn't realize I owned the board. She took a frantic step toward me, dropping her wine glass onto the kitchen rug. Mark, please listen to me. It's not what it sounds like. Marcus was pressuring me. I was just playing along to protect us. The desperation in her voice was pathetic, a cheap performance that made me feel nothing but absolute disgust. 8 years of shared memories, holidays, and promises had been reduced to a cheap financial scam and a hotel fling. Save it for your lawyer, I said quietly. The freeze order on all joint accounts went through at 4 o'clock this afternoon. Her eyes widened in horror as the reality of her situation finally hit her like a physical blow. Without the money moved and without her cover story intact, her entire elaborate scheme had collapsed in less than a minute. You can't do this to me, she choked out, tears finally breaking past her eyes. We've been married for 8 years. I looked at her, searching for any lingering warmth or grief inside myself, but there was only empty space. The woman standing before me wasn't my wife anymore. She was just a stranger caught in her own trap. I slid my house key across the granite counter, right next to her abandoned glass of wine. The house is listed with an estate agent, and my belongings are already packed in my truck outside, I said softly, walking past her toward the front door. I didn't yell, I didn't raise my voice, and I didn't look back as I turned the brass knob. 8 years of marriage ended not with a dramatic shouting match, but with 30 seconds of truth and a quiet door swinging shut behind me forever.